The Camera Insider has a full set of leaked specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II with an early 2024 announcement, but can the source be trusted? Stick around after this short break for all the details, as you're not going to want to miss this one. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. The Camera Insider says that they have leaked specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II that reportedly come from an internal sales meeting with a large camera retailer. Confirmation of these specifications aren't possible at this time, but I was told we could expect more information in the coming days and weeks. Wonderful, exciting. Didn't I tell you that once September arrived, things would start to heat up? And barely a week into September, we've already got the full leaked specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Again, these are coming from a source from the Camera Insider, and let's get right to those leaked specifications. Now, first of all, let's talk about the sensor. Previous rumors had said that the Canon EOS R5 Mark II is going to have a 61 megapixel stacked full frame sensor. The Camera Insider source is telling us it's going to be 62 megapixels stacked full frame, so 1 megapixel more, and that's significant because why? Yeah, that's right, the Sony a7R5 has a 61 megapixel sensor, so this would put it 1 megapixel higher, giving Canon the edge. Now, it will have variable resolutions. You can shoot at 62 megapixels, you can shoot at 31 megapixels, and 15.5 megapixels. Now, the image sensor, previous rumors had hinted that we might get dual image processors. This one's going to have a new image processor, and it's got a slightly different naming convention, more akin to what you'd expect from a smartphone such as Apple. It's the X2S. So a single X2S image processor. We don't know any information about this image processor other than it's a whole new sensor. And I wouldn't be surprised if, or a whole new image processor, and I wouldn't be surprised if we find the same image processor in the Canon EOS R1 when it comes out, maybe 1, maybe 2, we don't really know. But if we go back to the DigiX image processor that came out in the Canon 1DX Mark III, that image processor then went on to live in every other Canon EOS R system camera that was released after it, with the exception of the R100, and I'm not even going to bother talking about that anymore. We've had this conversation before. Now, in terms of video, the camera can shoot 8K up to 60 frames per second. No surprises after all. The Nikon Z8 can shoot 8K 60 frames per second as well. There's no mention as to what codecs it will support in 8K up to 60 frames per second, whether it's going to be RAW, whether it's going to be RAW up to 30 frames per second, RAW up to 60 frames per second, Cinema Raw Light, or anything like that. We just don't know at this point. And in terms of 4K, maybe some of you are hoping to see 180 frames per second. Well, 4K is going to be able to shoot up to 120 frames per second, so we're not seeing an improvement. However, if the image processor is that much better, then what I wouldn't be surprised to see here is that this new camera, this Canon EOS R5 Mark II, will be capable of more detail, and so 4K 120 will be a little bit sharper, and that's definitely better. So for me, I would actually rather have much sharper, more detailed 4K 120 than just throwing in 150 or 180 frames per second. I just spent the better part of Saturday, or is it Friday? I can't remember now, but the better part of one day at Niagara Falls shooting nothing but 4K 120 with the 100 to 500 millimeter f4.5 to 7.1, capturing just absolutely incredible shots. And I haven't even had a chance to actually develop them yet, so that's why you're not seeing them in B-roll at this point, but I'll probably show that to you in a future video. Not a lot of details on the autofocus system other than it's going to have that eye-controlled autofocus, the same one found in the Canon EOS R3, or I should say the same type of eye-controlled autofocus system. We don't know that it's going to be the same version. Most likely it's going to be an updated version. There'll be some differences. And the LCD, well, it's going to be a revised version of the articulating LCD, but we don't know if it's going to be anything like, well, what we find in the Sony a7R5 with that 4-axis LCD. And to me, I think that's the best of both worlds. It makes videographers very happy, vloggers very happy, and of course, if you're shooting with super telephotos, long lenses, you can just stretch it out right behind the lens, so you've got that line of sight from the LCD right down the barrel of the lens, and that's, I think that's, and like I said, I've been shooting with the 100 to 500 millimeter this weekend, and having a variable angle I think really works well, as long as they can bump up the nits a little bit, because otherwise you're pretty much shooting through the EVF because you just, in bright sunlight, it's not going to be bright enough. So what about the EVF? Well, from what it seems like, it's going to have the same resolution as the Canon EOS R5 Mark I, 5.76 million dots, capable of 120 frames per second. Like the Canon EOS R3, it's going to have that multi-function hot shoe. Hopefully they've redesigned the case just a little bit so we don't have to worry about those screws coming loose if you're using the, well, the hot shoe. Now, in terms of the buttons and the controls, the layout is a little bit different over the Canon EOS R5 Mark I. And the battery? Well, it's going to be based off the LPE6. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II has the LPE6NH, but this is going to be a new battery, so who knows what they're going to do here. Maybe they're going to bump up the amperage, most likely. Hopefully it'll be able to deliver more power, but also last longer. And being able to do both of those two things, well, it can be a bit of a tall order. And the camera's also going to announce with a new camera app. So what about pricing and availability, announcement dates, and all that sort of stuff? Well, we don't have the pricing, although I wouldn't be surprised if it's right around the same price as the Canon EOS R5 Mark I US pricing. The rest of the world do expect a price increase. The reason why we're not expecting a price increase in the United States is because the US dollar has been very, very strong against the yen and all other major currencies. However, we could see a slight bump in price if it does get that 62 megapixel stack sensor. I wouldn't be surprised if they could bump the price up to $41.99 or something even higher, but that's just pure speculation on my part. In terms of the announcement, well, early 2024, citing February. And if that's the case, my prediction is that we're going to get the announcement for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II in the, well, in the week before CP Plus, which is held in Japan. So I'm not sure the dates of CP Plus this year, but thanks to this graphic being put up in editing, you can just go back for 7 days from that, and we could have an announcement as early as Sunday, which is pretty common with CP Plus. I don't know why, but the major camera companies, instead of announcing their wares at CP Plus, they announce them in the days ahead of CP Plus, no more than 7 days prior. And so we'll get announcements then, and then they like to show that off at the fair. So, oh, this is interesting. So what do you think? Are you getting excited? Do you have any doubts about these specifications? How good is the source? Well, we've had 3 separate leaked specifications for the Canon EOS R5, some sharing some similarities, but also being very different at the same time. The Camera Insider did go on to say that, to me, it seems a bit early for specifications, but there have been many reports of the Canon EOS R5 Mark II currently being tested by photographers. Now, if this was Canon rumors, we'd see a CR0, CR1, CR2, or CR3, but at this point we don't have any other validation. I'm really curious to know, could this be the real specifications for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II? But what we are seeing is the trend in specifications lately are pointing to a stacked sensor north of 60 megapixels, but not hugely north, Mark, like 80 or 85 megapixels, right around 60, 61, or 62. And this is the second set of specifications that has hinted at dual CFexpress Type B cards. And what's really remarkable here is there was a press announcement just a couple of days ago that the authority that handles the Gen 3 specifications for the CFexpress cards A, B, and C has stated that they've approved the specifications for Gen 4. Now, I don't know when these specifications are going to go into effect, but essentially from what I've been told from industry insiders is you won't have to buy a new camera, and you actually won't have to buy new cards. There might be some sort of firmware update, but you'll be able to take advantage of these new speeds. And what that should allow you to do, if you have CFexpress Type A, you'll get Type B speeds. And if you have CFexpress Type B, well, you'll have Type C speeds. So basically doubling. CFexpress Type A has a single lane, 2 lanes in Type B, and 4 lanes in Type C. So if we do have dual CFexpress Type B card slots, that would be wonderful. And if we actually do get to Gen 4, that would also be wonderful. But what I'm kind of liking at this point is we're hearing a February 2024 announcement, and that would put it right around CP Plus, so towards the middle or the end of February. So I'm getting pretty excited about that. But again, take it with a grain of salt. At the point of recording this video, there is absolutely no validation anywhere on the net about this, and I'd want to see something at Canon Rumors because I think if we see something at Canon Rumors as well, providing more information and validating this, that'll go a long way. At least one thing I think this will do is shake the rumor tree. Again, the first set of leaked specifications we got November 25th, 2022, which turned out to be wrong, pointing towards a Q2 announcement. And then we got a set of specifications not too long ago, also from the Camera Insider. So it's looking pretty interesting. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest camera news and rumors, then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And for all those minor news stories and rumors that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video, pricing information, for example, well, then go ahead and follow me on Twitter, formerly known as X. No, sorry, on X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you want to help support this channel and you normally purchase from Amazon, B&H, or Adorama, sorry, B&H, Adorama, and Amazon, then go ahead and use my affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and I get anywhere from 2 to 6% back, which helps fund the purchase of upcoming cameras, such as the EOS R5 Mark II, which I now have funding for, and hopefully the Canon EOS R1, although I was talking to a friend in the industry and he thinks it's possible, and he showed me some pricing in today's dollars, showing I think it was the 1DX2 or the 1DS in today's dollars was $10,500 US. I hope he's wrong. I hope we see some other pricing, such as some of the other cameras in the 1 series that were considerably less. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.